hope you're enjoying my dad's videos. Make sure to share this video with family and friends, like and subscribe, and turn on post notifications so you get notified for all my dad's new videos. My social media will be tagged down below so you can follow it. And just remember, Jesus loves you.
Hi guys, we're getting a lot of questions at the moment asking where to buy silver or gold, and of course there are many places in which you could, and this is not an endorsement, but we tend to use bullionbypost.com. They've got a wide range of gold and silver, and if you put in the code that we've listed here below, you'll get a 1 ounce silver coin on any order over £250. Very nice. Just in case our channel ever gets taken down from YouTube, which there's a possibility because we are challenging a number of things. If you go to my website, drcharlieward.co.uk, and register there, we'll keep you in touch as to what's going on. And please, as Justin always says, remember to subscribe and like and share with friends so that we can get the message out there. It's very important through a difficult time to get the truth out in a world that is not very true. And just remember, Jesus loves you, even if everybody else thinks you're a twat. Hi guys, and today I would welcome again Michael Tellinger from South Africa. Welcome, Michael.
Hello, Charlie. Good to see you again. I'm becoming very familiar with your style and your voice since we've done a few of these now.
Well, this is one I've been looking forward to because this is something that is close to my heart and close to your heart. The minute you mentioned it, because I lived in South Africa many years ago, it's a place that I fell in love with. It's probably one of the most beautiful countries in the world that has been destroyed by man, and mainly the white man from either England, France, Holland or Belgium. And it's quite sad. It's been absolutely raped, for the want of a better word. And it's such a beautiful country, and it has such natural resource. And I was so impressed in the way that you're going about it with your project. One small town, Ubuntu. What your pronunciation is more beautiful than mine.
Ubuntu.
Ubuntu.
Yeah, Ubuntu. Yeah.
Yeah, but beautiful. I was part of the people that came out there to set up the game reserves in Mabula Lodge, Mabalingwe, Sambonani, Salvi, Sondela, and had
all the famous ones.
Exactly. And it was such a wonderful experience out there. It was so different from what I'd seen before. And I was actually out there. I remember when apartheid was brought down, and because we had a weekend home up in warm baths in Sondela. So we used to go to warm baths to swimming pool on the time when they let blacks and whites go in together, except the whites didn't turn up. And that was what, 25, 30 years ago?
Yeah, 26 years ago now. 26 years ago. It feels like the other day. I'll never forget the day when it came on the news when F.W. de Klerk said that the ANC was unbanned. Yeah. And then like a few months later, Nelson Mandela is going to be released from prison. It was like, whoa, okay, this is the moment that the whole world's been waiting for, and all the conscious South Africans been waiting for. And unfortunately, it has not gone as everybody had hoped, as you know.
Yeah.
What the global elite are very good at, and I don't know what happened. I don't know what conversations Nelson Mandela and F.W. de Klerk had. I don't know what pressure Nelson Mandela had on him from the global elite, the bankers, the Rothschilds, and so forth, because clearly there was like a honeymoon period when Mandela became the first black president, ANC, complete majority. Everybody voted. A lot of white people voted for ANC because everybody believed it was the party of the future, the party that unites the people.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it has now turned out to be the party that exploited the people, and for 26 years has been pretty much raping this country.
Yeah.
In cahoots with their big money buddies around the world. And it's been unbelievable how the country, our mines, the minerals, have been raped by a small group of royal political elite, if you want to call them that, in South Africa. the new nouveau riche among the black community, while they're rich and the rest of their brothers and the rest of black South Africans have just gone through hell. And what depresses me more than that, or as much as that, is that, you know, when Nelson Mandela took over the country, we were pretty much a first world country with a first world economy, first world infrastructure. Everything worked. All they had to do is take what was there and build on top of it and improve it so that it benefits everybody. But somehow, Africa, if you look at post-colonial Africa, wherever you go, it's just destruction. And it's literally, you can see buildings destroyed, vandalized, standing empty, vagrants, etc. Now, I can't imagine that that is by accident.
No.
Because it is so widely spread right across Africa, it must be by design. And this is really very important for people to realize, you know, because one would say, oh, you know, look at these Africans. They don't even know how to run a country. They got no idea how to do anything. That is what the global elite want the rest of the world to see. And this is what they do very cleverly. They put in their puppets, their puppet politicians, and they run the country into the ground. They rape, they destroy it, they just steal everything. And this is a constant, repetitive plan of action. And this is why Africa is so screwed up. I've noticed recently that there are a few African leaders that are starting to put their hand up and make noises. But unfortunately, as you and I know, and many of your viewers will know, that those African leaders are under tremendous pressure by the United Nations, the World Health Organization, the Rothschild central banking system. And if they don't play ball, they will get hit very hard. So it really is a terrible situation. And it's for this reason, exactly, that the Ubuntu movement's One Small Town strategy is such a beautiful, simple solution to all these problems. And I'll try and unpack it for you as succinctly, as to the point as possibly I can in the time that we spent together, without waffling too much.
No, this is very important, because a lot of my viewers are fascinated by the One Small Town. We've touched on it twice, but now I want to go through how it works and how what you're doing, because it's beautiful.
Yeah. And it's not just that. I think I've made some notes here that I'd like to follow. So there's a chronological thought process, because I don't want to jump around, because that it can get confusing, because we are dealing with a fundamentally, completely restructuring your thinking. And imagining a world without money. So right up front, before we go into it, I did mention in one of our other chats that the last month or two, South Africa has suddenly seen, I don't want to finish the political arena right now. The political arena in South Africa is taking a very interesting twist. Suddenly the ANC is realizing that they're about to lose the support of the people. It's very clear, it's everywhere. Okay, it's like the people have reached saturation point. It's screaming it in their face, everyone. Just because people are poor doesn't mean they are stupid. You know, and I've been saying this for many, many years. And this has been the problem with these political elite parties that basically establish an empire for themselves. They treat poor people as if they're stupid. And unfortunately, the people aren't stupid, but they're very loyal. They've been extremely loyal, to the point of almost being killed by their own party that they thought was their savior. And that suddenly is now, those chickens have come home to roost, or whatever. And suddenly we see the ANC and President Ramaphosa going out really hard. There's daily statements on Twitter and the social media, how they are going and uncovering all the corruption and basically getting rid of all the corrupt people. Anyone found guilty of corruption is they're going to get rid of, and so forth. This has never happened before. They've never spoken like this. They've always protected the corrupt insiders. So this has exploded all over South African political arena. And now there's a new kid on the block by the name of Herman Mashaba, which I mentioned before. And he's really, like, literally the most sober, beautifully focused voice in the political arena. It says all the right things as a servant of the people. And he is going to be he is already gaining incredible support. So the South African political arena is undergoing dramatic change. And it is really, I think, the perfect time for Ubuntu Movement's One Small Town to now go out and start making a noise. So by some weird divine guidance, we have been brought to this place after 16 years that I've devoted to this.
Yeah.
We're at this incredible junction, and it looks like it's about to go down.
Something is about to happen because I got some inside intel from South Africa earlier this week that they're going to use the same voting system as America, the quantum system, to make sure that everybody's vote in South Africa counts. So you'll be using the blockchain voting system so that everybody will have their own vote, whether it's on their iPhone, whether it's on their computer, or whether they go into a polling station and vote on a computer. But it will be a quantum blockchain voting system in Africa, in South Africa, for the first time ever.
That's very important. I got a whiff of that as well. I think today or yesterday, somewhere. So, if I may, I will go start talking about the Ubuntu movement, the philosophy of One Small Town, and so forth. But to lay a foundation for the viewers is really just to understand, how did this come about? It's like, well, and keep in mind, this is not something that happened last week, last year, last month, last year, or even 10 years ago. This was born in 2005. So it's a long time ago already that I've been working on this. And I'll never, ever forget when I first realized, when the penny dropped for me, what is going on. It was like my entire world was everything, my existence, my faith, my spiritual, physical, everything was just shaken. And it was like, oh my God, this is the big one. Yeah. This money thing, that's the thing that needs to be dealt with. Mm-hmm. And this is the critically important thing for the viewers to try and digest, is that money is the key and the source to all the problems and the unhappiness. How it emerged, how it works, and how we're going to twist it around so it actually works for the people and eventually work our way out of a money system. So, a quick recognition of how many people in the world are ready for this. Yeah, I've been doing these lectures around the world since 2007. Yeah. And from the ancient civilizations to a moneyless world and so forth. And clearly there's a huge support from people around the world for doing something different with money, or creating a moneyless society. Mm-hmm. But I don't want to scare people away, because ultimately we are creating a moneyless society or a world without money, but it's how we get there that is important. Mm-hmm. We can't just yank money out of the system. That's just first of all, it'll never happen. And even if you could do it, that's an absolute recipe for disaster. So at no time should you imagine that that's what I'm proposing or promoting in any way. So first of all, I used to ask at my lectures, how many of us are happy with the way the world is going? How many of us are happy with what the politicians are doing? How they're treating, our laws, etc., our rights, etc. And I can tell you, I'm not kidding, Charlie. Since 2007, asking that question, not one person, in talking to thousands and thousands, possibly 100,000 or more people around the world, not one person has ever put up their hand to say that they are happy with the way the world is going. So that is very clear.
Obviously, didn't invite Bill Gates.
Yes, I didn't invite Bill Gates. And obviously the people that come to my lectures are already of a certain level of consciousness. But even if not, if you just go into the street and ask the average person at a checkout line, are you happy with what's happening in the world? Are you everybody will tell you they're not.
Not happy.
People are sick and tired of working like slaves, sick and tired of working 2 jobs just to make ends meet, and doing it week in, week out, month in, month out, and just never. It's like this never-ending marathon that you just cannot seem to win. So that clearly tells us that something is wrong with our global socio-economic system. And then, when people get posed that statement, they go, oh yeah, well, clearly, because if everyone is so unhappy, then something must be wrong. Just think about it, that money affects everybody. It doesn't matter who you are, where you go, whether you're the wealthiest person or the poorest person. The wealthiest people in the world are as stressed as the poorest people in the world, except there's a slight different reason for their stress. The wealthy people are worried about keeping their money and not losing it and preventing someone running off with it or stealing it or the bank going bankrupt or whatever. They wake up every morning wondering how they're going to hold on to their money.
Mm-hmm.
And the people wake up every morning wondering how they're going to make some money to survive and put bread and milk on the table for their children and their family. So if you think about it, 7.5 billion people wake up every morning, or whatever the total population of the world is. 7.5 billion people wake up and we do something, right? We grow food, we make clothes, we develop things, we do engineering, we build roads, we make medicines, and et cetera, et cetera. And yet at the end of that day and at the end of that month, most of us can't afford what it is that we actually worked towards building, creating. Think about that. That's a spectacular, insane idea.
Yeah.
Why would I get up and do work every day, and at the end of the month or whatever, I can't afford what it is that I've been making, whether it's building a car or making fancy brand shoes. So you realize that something is wrong.
Yeah.
And there's another interesting argument. Did you want to say something?
No, that's you just absolutely nailed it. And not only have they not got enough, but they land up getting themselves into debt, which means they're being enslaved.
Yes, even more so, yeah. And then there's another interesting way that you can look at this global situation right now, and that's purely from a statistical, mathematical probability perspective. Now, you know, there's this whole thing that statistical probability in like flipping a coin is a 50-50. It's very close, 50-50. It ever veers further away from 51 to 49, 50-50. It stays there all the time. And so the statistical probability that billions of people who want to do good things, think about the billions of scientists, inventors, food growers, farmers, anyone, child carers, people that want to care for the elderly, billions of people that want to do good things every day. They wish the world to be a beautiful place.
Mm-hmm.
And yet those billions of people's wishes to make the world a better place never materialize. So from a statistical probability perspective, there is something wrong. Some external force is interfering in the achievement of humanity to achieve and create a beautiful world of prosperity and abundance. It is very simple. This is a simple statistical mathematical argument anyone can recognize very quickly.
Yeah.
And another simple way of looking at it, that someone is manipulating it somewhere, somehow, somebody is running the world.
Mm-hmm.
And we never get what we want or what we want to achieve.
Mm-hmm.
The tool that is used for that is money.
Yep.
Unquestionably, money.
Yep.
And that brings us to this very important question. What is money? And as you very well know, 99.9% of the people alive today have no idea what money is, where it comes from, why we use it, when was it created, who's in control of it, how it's actually printed and made, and why is it that we always have this problem with money? Because the economics clever people on television keep telling us how complicated it is and how difficult things are with money and all that. And the average person at home watching this going, well, why is it so difficult? Why are we using it if it's so difficult? So this is the key thing. The moment people realize what money is, where it comes from and how it was created and who controls it today, the penny will drop for you. Mm-hmm. And that's when people realize, oh my God, we are being played. Mm-hmm. We're being played on such a level that it literally causes many people to go into cognitive dissonant mode, right? But they just can't deal with that information.
Yeah.
Just too much.
Yeah.
So what I've done, and this is actually what got me to this point of realizing, oh my God, we've got to deal with the issue of money. And we've got to get money out of the system. Because once you realize what money is, and I'm going to quickly take you through that information, you realize that it's completely unnecessary. We don't need money. Money is an artificially injected tool of enslavement into humanity.
Yeah.
and this was in 2005 when I was studying or researching the origins of humankind, writing, Slave Species of God book. And that's when I discovered this. And most people believe that money is something that evolved over thousands of years with humanity, from bartering and trading. And then, the guys that were keeping the gold would make promissory notes, and those promissory notes then became a form of money later, which is in essence what, a $1 bill or $100 bill is. It's a promissory note. It's a promise to pay.
Yeah.
And again, if people are watching this, some of us are old enough to remember there was a time when all the money in the world said, I promise to pay the bearer of 10 pounds or sterling silver, or so many pounds of gold, right? And then at one stage they realized, oh my God, if the people come into the bank and want to claim the silver or the gold for this piece of paper, we're going to be in deep trouble.
Yeah.
And it was at that stage that they removed the link between silver and gold and money. Does the British money still say?
It still says I promise to pay the bearer, and it still has a picture of the Queen on there.
Yes.
And you look at I've had a number of court cases where they've claimed that the money that I was moving was laundering, and I said, well, first of all, it's not. It's fully declared, and they refused to accept that. And I said, look, it's declared legitimately. But you're saying you're going to take it off me on the basis that it's wrong, and it's okay for you to put it back in the system and have it for your wages, but not for me.
Yeah.
So that makes you a launderer, not me. The money was legitimate from me, and I proved it in a court of law. We won the case.
That's great.
But on the civil matter, they kept it on a technicality. They kept the money. And that shows you how corrupt they are. But on this journey, the one thing I've learned is about karma. What goes around will come around. And what's gone around for Africa will come around because you and I know the African people and the continent itself is the most beautiful continent in the world. And the people, that you talk about teamwork, they work so well together. There's always a tribal thing. That's in history, it goes back thousands of years, but they're a beautiful people that when you see them work together, there's a harmony. You only have to go into a black church in Africa to understand harmony.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
Look, I feel really blessed that I live in Africa and I'm a pale African. I just love this continent so much.
Yeah.
As you said at the beginning, South Africa, and actually all of Southern Africa, pretty much below the equator, and especially from Zambia, Tanzania, Kenya, Tanzania, Namibia, Botswana, Zimbabwe, South Africa, Mozambique. It's just spectacular. It is just such a beautiful part of the world. It is. I've called it the best kept secret.
Yeah.
That the Illuminati and the Rothschilds, they've kept this a really very close secret for themselves, because keep in mind, this is where all the rich gold, platinum, uranium, I mean, everything. Think about everything. Copper, diamonds, it's all here.
Yeah.
Right. The last thing they wanted is a destabilized Southern Africa. Yeah. And this is why Southern Africa has never really had serious problems, if you think about it.
No.
Never. It's been one of the most stable parts of the world, actually.
Yeah.
And it's actually remarkable when you think about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'd like to carry on with the story of.
Sorry, I distracted you.
No, not at all. Just feel free to jump in at any time, because your comments will be very pertinent to what we're discussing. So don't feel worried to interrupt me. I'm going to follow this process. So I want people to do this discovery, and I'd really like people to do this for themselves, to feel how important this. When that penny drops for you, it feels like you've lifted this weight of slavery off your chest.
Yeah.
The thousands and thousands of years of exploitation and slavery of the human race. Yeah. It's lifted off your chest once you realize what's going on here.
Yeah.
So what I realized looking at the origins of humankind was in this studying the ancient texts, the Sumerian texts, I stumbled upon texts that are known as the King's Lists.
Okay.
There are several King's Lists that have been discovered, translated, and it tells us incredible information. The King's Lists tell us, about the first priest kings how they ruled, where they ruled, how long they ruled, and that they were the first kings that appeared on earth. In fact, some of the kings lists are very explicit in telling us after the flood. The kingdom was lowered to earth from heaven. This is what they say. The kingdom was lowered to earth from heaven. And the gods appointed the kings, the priest kings among the people to rule over them. And I went, okay, well, now we know the origins of the royal bloodlines, because this whole thing of royalty and royal bloodlines, where does that come from? Who are these kings and royalty around the world? You know, and nobody seems to have an answer for that. And yet in the Sumerian texts, they are very clear writings, and not just one. Several of the kings lists tell us that there was a time in history when kingdom was lowered to earth from heaven, and the gods appointed the first priest kings from among the people to rule them and to control them. And the gods gave these first priest kings advanced weapons with which they could smite the people if they didn't want to listen. That is critical, really important information.
Yeah, for sure.
And they gave them knowledge and wisdom of writing. And the next thing they said, and the first thing these priest kings did is they built their temples as their castles, like this impenetrable temples that people and the peasants couldn't get in there. And from those temples, they controlled the people. They created money in the form of clay tablets.
Yeah.
And temples became the first banks from which those clay tablets were issued to the people as the first forms of money. Oh my God, when I saw that, I went, this is unbelievable. Who knows about this?
Yeah.
Because I was told that money evolved over thousands of years, you know, trading and bartering and all that. And suddenly I realized, no. Money was injected into the human race as a complete and fully evolved philosophy and a tool of enslavement. And there are some examples in my books, on my lectures and my videos on YouTube. I show some of these early clay tablets that are 4,500 years old already. And there will be much older ones that talk about what is actually imprinted on that little clay tablet, that some schmuck came to the temple and brought 8 pieces of silver. And in return for those pieces of silver, he got a piece of clay. And you realize that the way the ancient banking system was set up, that original banking system that was set up by the original royal political elite, the first royal bloodlines and the first kings that ever appeared on earth, we don't even know how far back that goes. That goes back much further back in time than we imagine.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'll tell you why, sorry, I digress a bit. I'll tell you why I say this, because in that description of these first priest kings being appointed by the gods, and whoever these gods were, that's a whole nother discussion. But, you know, read my book, Slave Species of God, that'll take you in the right direction. And there are other books that deal with it. I lost my train of thought. So these first priest kings made this money, and what I realized is that the way that money system worked at that stage already is exactly the same way the banking system works today.
Yeah. Yeah.
Bills of exchange, checks, promissory notes that are collectively called negotiable instruments.
Yeah.
I realized that this is just unbloody believable.
Mm-hmm.
So knowing that, we now know that money is definitely not a consequence of thousands of years of bartering and trading. That is the lie that the modern banking systems and the modern families have told us and taught us at school. That's the story that they injected into the textbooks that we read at school, at colleges, universities, especially the faculties that deal with money and banking and accounting and so forth, so that we don't go and start to question what money is, because we're told that money is a very important thing, that without money, the world would not go around. You know,
Yeah.
Money makes the world go around. Well, the last time I looked, the world's going around all by itself, and it certainly doesn't need any money to do that.
It was going around before money existed.
Exactly. So now we get to another interesting thing. So basically in any crime situation, you know, right? In crime today, detectives and the first point of departure is always follow the money, right?
Yeah.
Follow the money, and you'll most likely solve the crime. And 9 out of 10 times that is accurate. So if we follow the money all the way to its very, very origins, we will solve the crime. And I think I've just shared with you what that original crime was and where it was. And it's so far back that we can't even imagine. Oh, yeah, I remember my train of thought. In those original clay tablets, it says that the first priest kings were appointed by the gods, and then they tell us where these first priest kings ruled, how long they ruled, and some of them ruled for like 20,000 years, 28,000 years. These are not normal humans, right? This is okay. This is information that some people really struggle with, but get over that and get a grip on life and realize that everything we've been told is a lie. Once you can deal with that scenario, then you can probably start making sense of what's going on in the world today. And I can talk, in a separate thing, we could possibly talk about some of the lies and how they weave them and how they keep a golden thread of truth. They always keep a golden thread of truth in the lie so that you don't lose the connectedness of the lie. Otherwise, it falls apart very quickly. So these priest kings ruled the world for many thousands and thousands of years. In fact, it tells us that they ruled the world for about 240,000 years. And then the clay tablet says, and then the flood came. Think about what these Sumerian texts just tell us. That the first forms of money and those first forms of clay tablets and those very first priest kings were around 240,000 years ago already. That's how old money is.
Wow.
That's how old the origins of money has been. And yet modern archaeology and anthropology and history tells us, humanity only started to evolve around 300,000 years ago. So I'll go to you, buddy. There's a whole other history here that you've got no bloody clue about. And if you're going to, keep your head in the sand, then you're going to stay as dumb as you are right now. So go do some research and reading. All right. So I just wanted to set the stage for why this is really important.
Yeah,
why
I get that.
I'm actively outspoken against money.
Yeah.
That people don't think I just hate money because I don't have any money. Often people think, you just don't like money because if you were rich, you'd be happy. I said, no, I don't care how much money I have. I will continue to try and create a scenario or a world in which money is no longer needed. And in essence, that's where my journey began in 2005. When this penny dropped for me, I realized that we have to find a way to get money out of the system.
Mm-hmm.
But how the hell do you do that? And that was the difficult part.
Yeah.
And what then happened is I started to imagine what would happen if I woke up tomorrow morning and there was no money. Like money did not exist. The idea, the philosophy didn't exist. How would we do things? I would live in my house and then I would need food. So how would I get food? Well, we're growing food already. How would we do engineering and build bridges and do chemistry and science and mathematics? We're doing it already. We don't need money to do it. We just get born into a system that we believe, since the earliest memories that we have, that money is so important, and without money, you can't do any of these things. So I started to think about how we would do this. How would we do this and everything in our lives? And it took me about 3 months to get through the first block and cross that first hurdle that I felt I really solved that problem. And the moment that first problem was solved without any, backfires or whatever, it just suddenly, that like opened up the floodgates to solving all the other problems in our lives. How to do this, how to do that. What will happen to education? What will happen to the aged and the elderly? What will happen to space travel? What will happen to medicine and growing food and building homes and etc. And suddenly, within 6 months, it was like, oh my God, I think we've just solved all the problems of the world. And how do we solve the problems of the world? By taking money out of the system. And that just, obviously that I just got so excited about that. And I thought, okay, well, how are we going to do this? How are we going to take money out of the system without people freaking out, without them losing their shit? Because the moment you tell people we're going to take money out of the system, you know, I've seen it. I've seen this over many years now. People go into immediate defense, like, well, what are you going to do? How are we going to do this? How are we going to do that? And they start to defend the money system. They start to attack you and tell you you're crazy and you've lost your mind. You don't know what you're talking about. You're just a stupid idiot and all this kind of stuff. So I've persevered, and I must tell you, it's been a really very exciting journey of discovery and seeing the human nature and the reaction, what people do when they're confronted with this. And it's really interesting because there are three types of people. There are those that they just get it instantly.
Yeah.
You don't have to explain anything to them. You just suggest this to the people and they immediately know. It's like it's wired into their DNA, right? They just get it. And you'd be surprised how many people, I'd say it's probably 3 to 5% of the people get it, which is a large number of people. That's more than a critical mass of people already. Critical mass is critical here. Yeah. Because to get to that critical mass worldwide.
To me, it makes sense immediately. But the minute you suggested it, I thought it just makes pure sense.
Yeah. And then there's those people that okay, well, that sounds interesting, but I have to think about it. And they talk to you and they argue with you, and then they phone you and they email you, and then it takes them a little while, maybe a week, maybe a month, sometimes a year, and then something happens to them. You know, they resist because of what we live in. And then eventually something happens and the penny just drops one day. And I must tell you, I've had thousands of these encounters with people, not just 1 or 2 or 100 or 200. I'm talking about thousands. Keep in mind, I've been doing this for a long time.
Sure.
So I've engaged hundreds of thousands of people, either in one-to-one presentations and workshops around the world in more than 300 cities of the world and 25 countries. But I've been doing this since 2005. And then on email, you know, hundreds and thousands of emails a month. And so I know how people react. And then you get the third group of people that just will not go there. They don't care what information and what scientific, you know, or historic proof you show them. They just don't want to go there. They just go, no, sorry, not going to work. Don't even want to talk about it.
Yeah.
Okay, so now we've unpacked the money, and now we need to talk about how do we do this.
Yeah.
So clearly, you know, some of your viewers might know that what we then did, or what I then did in 2009, I created the Ubuntu Party. I believe that, well, at that stage, I was still naive, and I thought that politics is the way to get this message to the people.
Mm-hmm.
I started this movement, the Ubuntu Liberation Movement. I started spreading this information everywhere, and started holding meetings and lectures all over South Africa and Southern Africa, our neighboring countries as well. And I traveled to other countries. And then it was actually Kerry Cassidy in 2009 suggested to me, why don't you start a political party? And I said, forget about it. No, it's not going to happen. And a year later, the Ubuntu Party was registered and born. And I just believe that maybe that was a way to, first of all, protect myself, because I was saying some very inflammatory things.
Yeah.
The registered political party, you can say pretty much anything because it is your manifesto. Yeah. It's your argument of what you want to do for the people.
Sure.
In many ways, it was a protection for me and those with me. So we started the Ubuntu Party, and what we believed, and I really believed in my process of evolution, thinking about this, that I could inject a seed of consciousness into the political beast. Mm-hmm. We did. And then we created the political parties in South Africa, in the UK, in Australia, in Canada, and we're about to launch in the USA when I realized, hold on, we're barking up the wrong tree here. And it was, so we ran in 3 elections in South Africa from 2012, 2014, and 2016, in the UK in 2015, in 2 constituencies, in Australia and New South Wales. We were about to run in Canada and the USA. At that point, I realized, hold on, this is all going down the wrong path, and this is not going to work. Because what I realized is that the political beast is controlled by external forces. And I had to get into politics, because if I didn't get into politics, remember, I ran for president in 2014.
Yeah.
As crazy as it sounds.
Yeah.
You know, when you run as a political party, you actually run for president. The leader of that party
course.
in running for president in South Africa. That's
Yeah.
how it works. So we drew a lot of attention from the people.
Yeah.
And even till today, I have at least 1 million names and phone numbers of people that signed up for the Ubuntu Party.
Wow.
That is huge. 1 million names, right?
Incredible.
So what then happened in the 2014 elections is at the end of the elections, we ended up with 5,500 votes. So I realized something is wrong with that.
Yeah.
It's not right.
Yeah.
And I realized what actually gave it away was in the foreign vote count, when people vote outside of South Africa, there we actually got the largest number of votes of all the parties. Think about this.
Yeah.
Ubuntu Party, no one's ever heard of.
Yeah.
Got the largest number of votes, around 28,000 if I remember. Out of the 28,000 votes, so keep in mind, when I was told this, there was a woman that sat in front of me at the elections when they, the last 3 days when we were waiting for all the numbers to come in. This very, very elegant African lady from one of the African parties, the African Christian Democratic Party, I think it was. And she leaned back on her chair and she said, "Hey, Ubuntu, did you know that you got the largest number of votes in the foreign vote count?" And I went, "What? You mean from the small parties, the largest number of votes from the small parties?" She said, No. The largest number of votes of all the parties.
All the parties.
No, how do you know that? She said, because I was an observer, because they have these independent observers to make sure he cheats.
Yeah.
I said, "Are you serious?" She said, "Yeah." She said, "Yes, everybody was very surprised." So I went immediately I thought, this is not good for the establishment.
No.
They're not going to want to release this information.
No.
Because this is front page news in all the media.
Yeah.
Ubuntu Party wins the foreign vote count.
Yeah.
I can't see that happening. So then what happened? We waited 1 day, 2 days, 3 days. At the end of the third day, they eventually released the outcome of the foreign vote count.
Yeah.
The Ubuntu Party was given 28 votes. 28 votes.
They missed the 3 zeros off.
Yeah, they missed the 3 zeros. And so I went to her and I said, "What's going on? What? I thought you said we had all these votes." And she said, I don't know what happened."
The zeros stand for nothing.
That's when I realized.
Yeah.
They completely manipulate the outcome of the election. They know exactly who they're going to give how many votes to.
Yeah.
And they gave us exactly the percentage of the foreign vote count that we ended up with the national vote count. 5,500, which is like 0.01% or whatever it was, 0.1% of the vote. So I just want to tell you, this is why I had to go into politics, to learn of what not to do.
Sure.
And then by 2016, I decided, that's when we realized that this is not going to win. We can't win it in the political arena. And that's when the one small town philosophy was born, actually, towards the end of 2015 and into 2016. So we realized that the power lies with the people. Yeah. The power lies with the people, not with the politicians and government. So why don't we go to where the people are and work from the ground up instead of from the top down? What good is it going to be? Even if I got a seat in parliament, what would I achieve? I'd sit in parliament and argue and spend hours, waste my life in parliament, stupid arguments and about nothing. And that's when I realized, let's go to the people in the small towns and the villages and build it up from the ground. And that's where the whole idea of one small town will change the world was born, where we get out of politics and we work as a non-political party so that we don't become an opposition or a threat to any political party. We become a friend to everybody and an ally to everybody that brings prosperity and abundance to all the people of the community, including all the members of the different parties. So we are not seen as the enemy. Yeah. And I must tell you, one of the most deeply upsetting, disturbing things that I'm still living with today, and it really upsets me and disturbs me emotionally, because many of the young kids that were bright-eyed and excited about the Ubuntu Party, that came and joined me, and we went and campaigned across South Africa and got a lot of the young kids that supported us. After the elections, they were all victimized and bullied, and most of them lost their jobs, ended up on the street because they were seen as the opposition to the ANC. That is just brutally criminal, and there's nothing I could do about it. And this is what I just need everybody to know. That's how brutal these guys are. And one day when the playing fields are leveled, I need to go back and repair the damage that I created. Unknowingly, I created so much trauma and damage with a lot of beautiful young people that supported this, and not all young people, people that had families and so forth. And that was devastating.
You did it for all the right reasons. And the reasons that it's been destroyed is not you. It's down to the corruption that's out there. And had you have not done that, we probably wouldn't be where we are today, where Trump is able to expose these people. And you can these experiences, I'm learning this now, Michael, that a lot of experiences that happened in my life, I had no idea why they happened. And now I'm looking back, and those experiences are helping me today and helping you today to get the message out loud and clear because of our experiences.
Yeah, and that's what I keep saying to people. You know, some people still, because they followed me a long time ago, they got whiff of the Ubuntu Party. They still think we're a political party. You know, we've been out of it for so many years. Yeah. So that's when One Small Town was born. And in 2016, we then ran just in 13 municipalities, trying to win the municipality vote. That was it, 2016. And we're already running under One Small Town Will Change the World platform then. And then after that, we completely pulled out of politics and we became an apolitical community development movement. And here we are today.
But that's very much how I see Trump heading right now. Because from the information I get from behind the scenes, there will be no Democratic Party, there will be no Republican Party, there will be no Conservative, Labour or Liberal Party. And it will be pretty much exactly what you planned it to be, one small town. And in England, it'll be one small county, and you'll have one person that represents the people. That's how I see it going from the information I'm getting. And that would work beautifully in Africa, it would work beautifully in the UK, it would work beautifully in America. If you take the United Kingdom as an example, you've got all these hundreds and hundreds of lords in the House of Lords, completely unnecessary. You need lawmakers, but you don't need a House full of lords. You probably need a dozen really good, sharp lawmakers that work together to set the laws. If you go to common law away from maritime law, it's far less complicated. So constitutional common law is so much easier, so much more open and clear. And then when you talk about governments, you don't need a Houses of Parliament. You don't even need a Parliament. And you don't need 650 MPs. You probably need 30 or 40 representatives from each county. So one looking after Suffolk and one looking after Devon or Cornwall or Avon or Somerset, different areas. And they can be divided up in certain areas. But the one small town principle of being self-sufficient, looking after each other, and yes, of course, communicating with each other because we can all bring something to each other. But actually empowering each person to look after their own area first.
Yeah, so this is really what the One Small Town accomplishes so beautifully and so effortlessly.
Yeah,
it really is an effortless thing, and this is what when the penny drops for people about how incredibly powerful and simple the One Small Town strategy is, and that it's open and invites everybody. It doesn't matter who you are, whether you know what religion you are, what age you are, what sex you are. It's open to everyone to participate. Now, it's the thing about the One Small Town is very important. So people ask, oh, so how's it going to work? You know, so over the years there've been what I call the frequently asked questions, and you can imagine. I can say with a certain amount of confidence that I must have had at least 100,000 questions thrown at me during this period, the 16 years or so, of all kinds of questions. You know, is this compulsory? Well, what if I don't want to? And how will this work? And how will that work? And who's going to shovel the crap? And does it mean that, you know, if there's no money, can I? And if everything is free, can I have 50 Ferraris and 20 mansions? And, you know, things like this. So I've been through thousands and thousands of questions mostly of often people ask ignorant questions because they're not even in a state to ask the right questions. So what the interesting thing here is, though, Charlie, and this is what blows my mind, is out of these thousands and thousands of questions, we can filter it down to what I've been showing as the 13 most frequently asked questions.
Yeah.
You maybe push it to 20 or 25.
Yeah.
After that, the questions might be asked in a different way, but it's just a question that's already been asked.
Yeah.
And what blows my mind is that out of all the things that can go wrong in the world, all the problems we face in the world today, think about it, there are millions and millions of problems. The world is so screwed up. Everything is messed up, whether it's agriculture or roadworks or healthcare or retirement, or everything is messed up. There are problems everywhere. And yet, out of the millions of problems we face every day, the questions that people have asked me over the years can be narrowed down to 13 frequently asked questions. So by suggesting that we're going to remove money from the system, all we have to do is solve 13 problems, and we've got a clear way forward.
Incredible. Absolutely incredible. You and I both know from our history, we've heard money is the root of all evil, and yet we haven't understood that. No. It's been a common saying. And then my father added the words, the love of money is the root of all evil. And you just go, you're just distracting from the truth. Money is the root of all evil.
It's actually, it's part of my presentations when I do this, with the PowerPoints and that, I bring that up. Money is the root of all evil. And then some people say it's the love of money, not the money itself. Money is just a form of exchange. It's just an energy, because they have no idea what it is, where it comes from. They keep spewing forth the lies to justify this thing. So remember what happens now. So now we become the prison guards of this slavery system called money, and we're justifying it for all the wrong reasons. So I've been sharing with people, money is the root of all evil, and it's not the love of money, it's the presence of money. That is the problem. The presence of money. The moment you take money out of the system, all the problems go away. No greed, no gluttony, no hoarding, no envy, no fear. All of that disappears. Now the question is, well, how do we go from here to there? And that's been the great journey of enlightenment and discovery. And that's the small town philosophy.
I think with the quantum financial system, the way I understand it, with the new, as I understand it, the new NESARA, GESARA world that we're moving into, removing debt first of all, because I think that the whole thing will be a process. I think removing debt. So realistically, next year, you won't be able to get a mortgage. You won't be able to get a credit card. They won't exist. So you won't have debt. So people say, well, how do you buy a house? Well, it's quite simple. A house has a title deed. It'll be on a token, which will be on your Bitcoin, BitChain, whatever it's called, blockchain system. And you'll share it with the developer. And the developer, let's say the house is worth 100,000. He'll say to you, fine, you make 200 payments of 500 a month, no interest. And then after you've cleared it, then the coin becomes yours. No interest, and then it will go back. No, well, how can the developer do that? Well, he won't have a loan from the bank. Because it's very interesting when you ask somebody, you bought the house on a mortgage, yeah? Who do you owe the money to? Well, I owe it to them. No, you don't, because they sold the debt. And it goes down the line. Well, who actually, where's, when you go back, you suddenly find out, really? So this is all, you're absolutely smack on right. It's all enslavement. It's an enslavement machine to keep control of people. And you'd be amazed how easy it would be to move into a world without money, except that our mind is so indoctrinated, programmed, whatever, it'll take time. And we'll go into this area without debt, as in mortgages and loans and all this sort of thing. And that'll be the first stage. We'll still have cash, and we'll have crypto, blockchain currency, whatever they want to call it, quantum financial system. And then I think it will be phased bit by bit. Once the taxes disappear, there'll be that much more freedom. So you won't be so much enslaved. And the less enslaved you come, the more open you'll become to the one small town philosophy, which makes so much sense. So it would be
Well,
a
I think
process.
if Trump is successful, and which I believe he will be, that means that the central bank system will collapse very quickly.
Yeah.
Which means that there'll be no taxes, no inflation, no fees, no levies, none of that stuff. So suddenly people will realize that we don't need any of that. But that's still difficult for some people to grasp.
Sure.
So I want to go down that rabbit hole, because ultimately what the one small town scenario does, it actually takes us away from all those problems. And I must tell you categorically, Charlie, with 100% conviction and belief in this, that the one small town philosophy and the plan of action, the implementation, presents a solution to every possible, current, or imaginable problem that we face as the human race.
I believe that.
And trust me, I've done this. I've thrown it at the one small town scenario, no matter what the problem is, that you, even if it's a theoretical problem that you create, and throw it at the one small town scenario and see how we can resolve it from a one small town perspective. 100% solutions. And I'm not always the one. So in my workshops, I present questions at the beginning of the workshops, and I tell people, write down any problem that you think, write down 3 problems that you think that are unsolvable in the world that we live in, or even in a one small town scenario. If you don't understand it, write down 1 or 3 problems that you think you cannot solve. And at the end of the workshop, at the weekend workshop or whatever it is, you'll take that piece of paper out and see if you still think you can't solve the problems. Never, ever have the people come out of the workshops and looked at their questions and thought they can't solve the problem. In fact, I can tell you, even before we get to the end of the workshop, they're already solving the problems. And then they laugh, they go back, they look at the question they wrote down, what it turns into, those sessions, that part of the workshop, it turns into a bit of a stand-up comedy session. I'm telling you, it's because it's so funny. You realize how poisoned our minds are.
Yeah.
How we are stuck in this old way of thinking about everything.
Yeah.
So I'd like to recommend to people to go and watch the One Small Town videos, because I can unpack it for you here, but it's probably going to be less detailed than the videos that are already out there. I'm going to take you through a very basic process, but to really get the meat and the context, watch the videos, read the book, watch as many of the videos as you can, so that the penny really drops for you. There are so many different videos. And in fact, I was going to start today, but I'll start tomorrow. I'm going to start with making short videos with frequently asked questions and the Q&A sessions, where I take all the questions that I've faced over the years and I answer them one question at a time on a separate video, so that people can follow that process and start to train their minds of how to deal with these problems. It is just so simple. It is unbelievable.
I would like all the people who are watching this right now to put your questions down below, so that I can come back to Michael in a week or so's time, and we can take the most popular questions and the most controversial questions. Because one thing I love about Michael is he'll address the issue head on.
Yeah. One of the questions, for example, is, what about crimes of passion and so forth? And I love not to answer the questions, because I want people to do the work themselves, and so forth. But very important, I just need to say this. We are not, the one small town scenario is not creating intentional communities. And I still get emails, hundreds and hundreds of emails from people. Oh, we're starting an intentional community. I love your one small town thing. We're doing the same thing. We're starting a community here. That is not the same thing. No. Starting an intentional community is not the same thing as creating a one small town situation. And let me quickly dispel that for anyone that's confused. Small town means exactly what it says, a town with its entire infrastructure, with its political infrastructure, its electricity infrastructure, its water and sewage infrastructure, its road infrastructure, its factories, its houses, its hospital. Everything is there. We don't need to build anything from scratch. We don't need to start a community anywhere. It's a lot easier to take a small town that is failing and fading away, and people are desperate and homeless, and they're looking for a solution, to make them realize that they can turn their town around in the blink of an eye, and not only create prosperity and abundance for them very quickly and into the future, but also become the center of attraction for conscious investors and billionaires.
Yeah.
That's the big thing.
Yeah.
So we're not building intentional communities without money and living on a piece of land in tents and in huts and whatever, and growing food and thinking that we've freed ourselves from the system. That is all BS. That is hocus pocus crap. That's the whole hippie kind of era thinking. We're not doing that. Okay. We're smart enough to realize it hasn't worked. We're not going to continue repeating the same mistakes. Think about one intentional community anywhere in the world that has actually influenced and changed the world.
Yeah.
None.
Not one yet.
Not one.
Yet.
Ultimately, they become an extension of the founder's ego. That's what happens. Yeah. Whoever is the founder of that intentional community, everyone, he becomes like a guru and the Messiah, and everybody comes flocking, and eventually all hell breaks loose and the thing falls apart because the guru starts to sleep with all the women and the husbands get jealous, and it's the same story over and over again. That's just one scenario, but there are many others. So in a one small town scenario, we take existing structures, we change nothing. All we do is we change the way the people think about maximizing their talents, skills, and opportunities in their town. So what we're doing, and we're not doing this without any money. In fact, we're doing it with as much money as we can lay our hands on so that we can make it as successful as we can. Mm-hmm. So the phrase that we've been using has been, we use the tools of enslavement as tools of liberation. Mm-hmm. And money is the number one tool of enslavement.
Yeah.
And this is incredible. This is what I believe is going to happen. And we're very, very close. And I want to maybe talk briefly about the funding and the offers of money that we've had, why people understand, why has this not happened? Because, you know, I get loads of these emails. Oh, well, where's these towns that you're talking about? I want to see one of these towns before I believe it. And I mean, I don't even answer those emails, you know, like, It's just crazy, people. So keep in mind that what we're doing, we're using the tools of enslavement as tools of liberation. And by that, I mean everything. We're talking money, the political system, because without getting into politics, we're actually using the political system without getting into politics. Because why and how? Because we're using the appointed mayor. The mayor is a politically appointed person. Yeah. And the mayor wants to appoint it. We've just hijacked the political system to work in favor of the people of the town by using the one small town philosophy. So we don't have to get into politics. We just need a conscious mayor who wants to do this. Yeah. Right? We have the technology. We have the alternative. Call it free electricity if you want to call it that, because once it runs, it's free. And once you've paid it off, then it belongs to the town. So that electricity generator belongs to the people. They never, ever have to pay for electricity again. That's the foundation of the one small town strategy, is our electricity technology. And that's just one of many technologies that we have, because over 16 years accumulated an incredible pool of scientists, inventors, and talented people that can solve any problem we face. And I say that, any problem. And that goes even into military. Okay, now this might be very sensitive to some people, but let me tell you, when you start dealing with inventors and scientists in advanced technology, those are the same guys that are working in the industrial military complex, developing very advanced weaponry for countries and dictator presidents that invade and destroy other countries. Mm-hmm. When I say that we have technology, we're talking about curing disease, generating electricity, levitation, anything you can imagine exists. New materials, so we never ever have to mine again. We never have to disturb Mother Earth and rip out her innards and scatter it all over the world. We never have to do that again, because we don't need to do that. There's enough sand, silica around the world, and enough material scientists that know how to use very advanced chemistry to create materials that are much stronger, infinitely creatable, that are biodegradable, totally green, biodegradable, non-toxic, non-pollutant, and reusable. So it's just spectacular what this platform creates, the opportunity. And what it does do for me, which is most exciting for me, is that because of the way that the mayor and the people in the town start to work together, where they identify the industrial opportunity, they identify the individual people skills, whether they're rocket scientists or healers or material scientists and farmers that can grow food better than anybody else. And then those that know how to stimulate the soil so the food grows better, quicker and faster without necessary water and so forth. We have all these scientists and these incredible inventors. They're all already part of the One Small Town group.
Sure.
One thing that we're not going to do, and we've had many offers of funding, and this is so when people write to me and they get frustrated, they say, well, you've been talking about this for years. Why is it not working? Obviously, it's not going to happen because it doesn't work. Obviously, these people are just negative thinking. They don't realize what they're talking about. They don't have enough information. So the key thing here is the electricity, the foundation of the supply of electricity that belongs to the people, not to a central government or a central electricity supplier. Keep in mind here as well, this is a really important thing, is that it is this generator. We're not asking permission from the government or the local electricity supplier or the national grid. We're not asking them permission to use their electricity. We have our own generator that creates our own electricity. So we're not looking at a third-party independent power provider. We're providing and creating our own electricity.
Yeah.
Changes the legal parameter and the legal dynamics, which often can be a hurdle to departure.
Mm-hmm.
These are really important considerations. And this is, again, these are all the things you learn from doing this for many, many years. So once the town has its own generator, you can do anything. You can do refrigeration, you can do heating, you can run sawmills, you can run engineering and welding, anything you want.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the key thing is that people ask, well, why has it not worked yet? The main reason why it hasn't worked is because our generators are actually the foundation of this. The rest is easy.
Yeah, sure.
Really, really easy. You identify the engineering, the agriculture, the science, the technology, the supercomputer factory, you know, and I always joke, you know, how long will it take us if we build a little supercomputer factory or a computer factory? How long will it take us to build the first supercomputer?
Mm-hmm.
And I joke, this is one of my sort of standard phrases. And the reason I use it, because I've asked this question at many of my lectures in Silicon Valley, in Seattle, in that, you know, that whole part of California. I've done dozens of lectures there, and they're always these bloody computer freaks and IT geeks there. And I ask them, how long will it take to build a supercomputer? And they always laugh. I say, why are you laughing? And I say, because it's going to take a week or a month because the supercomputer has already been built. It's just the computer industry is never going to release it to the mass market. Very simple. Well, we will. Yeah. Just like we'll release the cure for cancer and the cures for all other diseases. We know what those cures are.
Sure.
And we will release that in our town. So imagine once we built the supercomputers, and it's a laptop like this one of mine, and we start producing these, how many of these supercomputer laptops do you think we're going to sell? You know, you buy one for life, you never have to buy another computer again.
Yeah.
You know, infinite memory, that's it. Buy a computer for life, because we're not doing this for money. We're doing this to serve the people of the world, whether they're in our community or the rest of the world. It doesn't matter. You realize, so everything changes, right? The philosophy of our town changes, not how cheaply we can make things, but how well we can make it so that it lasts forever.
That's why Gates came in with a virus, because he made a computer that lasted forever and wanted to make more money out of it. So he created a virus to screw it up, and then created an antivirus. And after he'd done that with computers, he thought, well, if I can do it with humans, I can go from a billionaire to a trillionaire.
Yeah. So I think, you know, we're almost done here. I want to just finish on a high note.
Yeah.
To say, why is this so exciting? So keep in mind, we're not creating hippie colonies. We're using existing towns with very conscious and smart people, with a conscious mayor, whether it's a man or a woman, and they want to do something good for their community, because they're not only doing it for their community, they're doing them for themselves and their children's future. Yeah. That's where the conscious mayors will realize that, oh my God, if I don't fix my town, my children are going to live in a bloody dumpster, right? And so, and what that then does is we start identifying the industrial opportunity, identifying all the people skills and people talents, put the people into positions of all the different industries. And that's when we realize, that's when we start to attract the investors.
Yeah.
Why are the investors so interested in this? Because everybody in our community contributes 3 hours a week towards the community projects and one of these businesses that we've set up. Why? Because they are co-owners of these businesses.
Yeah.
Everyone in your town, as long as you contribute your 3 hours a week, and obviously that is very cleverly structured. It's not going to be, again, there's free for all and everybody does what they want. We have blockchain technology. We have very smart people that know how to run this. We know exactly who to put where, at what time, and when they have time, when they don't have time. Very simple process to organize. It's not rocket science, right? So if you think that's the problem, then you haven't thought this thing through.
Sure. Yeah.
So
3 hours a week.
Exactly. What that does, just think about that. Let's take a town of 10,000 people. That's 30,000 hours of labor a week. Free hours of labor. 30,000 hours of free labor.
Yeah.
Charlie, what that does, I want people just to think about this. That puts us in direct competition with companies that have about 5,000 employees. I've done the numbers. I'm not going to go into the details. About 5,000 employees, and the average size, the average turnover of a company, a multinational company with 5,000 employees, is $1 billion or more, up to 20 billion a year. So suddenly we're turning our town, think about this potential, turning our town into a big business that we're all owners of, all the different facets of it, that can generate 1 billion or more per annum. That's the bottom line.
Of one small town.
Why is this so attractive to the investors? Because there's no competition in our town. We don't have 20 bakeries competing against each other, or 10 engineering factories all fighting each other, or a wood factory, or whatever, or a hospital. What we might have a hospital and a few clinics, but they all belong to the people. So we all collectively work towards making that as good as possible. We might have 20 bakeries around the town, but they all collectively belong to the people. So the bakers are all working for the benefit of the community and the export of the bread that we sell and export all over the world. And the same goes for the engineering, the windows, the computers, the healthcare, everything. That's why it becomes attractive for the investors, because the investor knows he's got the entire community on his side. He's got 10,000 people working for free every week to make his or her business as successful as they possibly can, because they are co-owners of that business. They don't have any hostile competitors that are trying to outperform them or outprice them. That, I believe, is going to become the trigger why one small town in the very near future is going to become the new stampede for conscious millionaires and billionaires. The moment this gets out of the gate, the moment we launch this and these rich people realize, oh my God, I can go and invest in this town, it's a slam dunk. Yeah. That's it.
And the one thing that sticks out to me is if you're a shareholder of this group of people in the small town, and you're only asked, I know what I'm like, and I'm only asked to contribute 3 hours a week. Me personally, I'd be banging in 90 hours a week.
Exactly.
Because
what happens is, what you said there, Charlie, is really important. What's really important. So what'll happen with people is they'll start contributing the 3 hours a week, and keep in mind, this is not compulsory. You don't have to participate. Let's imagine start this in my town. Yeah, in my town, those who participate reap the benefits. Those who don't have access to all the benefits. It's really as simple as that. So find 3 hours a week, and you can have free electricity, free healthcare, free transport, free bread and corn and whatever it is that we grow. Right? There's a very simple formula and methodology how we create the abundance for ourselves and the abundance that we export to the world. And this is where the money comes from. There's a very simple plan. There's a very incredibly detailed model for this. Yeah. And I can tell you, no matter how you crunch the numbers, we've done this many, many times. No matter how many times you crunch the numbers, the contributionist model, what I'm talking about, people contribute their 3 hours a week, contribute to the benefit of the community, always comes out head and shoulders about any kind of capitalist model that you compare it against. There's no contest. In fact, many, like 20 times, 100 times more successful than any capitalist model that tries to compete against it. You can't. The moment we launch this, it's the end game. You can never, ever go back.
All I can see in this is positives. It's absolutely beautiful. And you've delivered it beautifully so that people understand it. But for the next week, I want everybody to write their questions below so that we can go through them. If there's anything you don't understand that Michael has said, just write it in the comments below and we'll address it next week. Probably on Friday if we get the chance, or towards the end of the week anyway. We'll try and find a slot that's suitable. But write the questions and we'll answer, or Michael will answer all of your questions for you.
Two more things before we finish here. I'll just remind me, I want to end on the funding, which has been a challenge, but I think we're breaking through right now. I mentioned it before. We're very, very close to have broken through. And then what is the other thing? So now people are so now I'm stuck in this town. Now once I'm in this town, I can't go anyway. Well, remember, you're going to be making money. You get the dividends paid from all the businesses every month. So and very soon the dividends that you get paid every month from the success of these businesses are going to be much more than what you get paid as a salary, the job that you have. So you might keep your job. You don't have to leave your job to do this. You just carry on your life. You just find 3 hours a week somewhere to do this. So it's a smooth transition. No one is forced to jump off and give up something to attain this. No, there's a very smooth progression and transition. Everyone goes through a very smooth adoption of this new philosophy until we adopt it more and more, embrace it more and more, until we forget that we actually had this other thing that we came out of. So no one is forced to do it. But there'll come a time where you get more money every month to you from all the businesses than you're getting in your job. So what are you going to do? Are you still going to work your 8-hour a day or 10-hour a day job? Of course not. You're going to leave a stinking job that you hate. And by contributing 3 hours a week, you get more money than you got from your job. 3 hours a week as opposed to 10 hours a day.
And then you can spend more time with your family and enjoy your family.
Yes, not only that. Now suddenly the family grows together and stronger. The community grows together and stronger. You don't have to worry about theft or crime or people stealing stuff from you because they have anything they need. Anything you need, you can ask for, and it gets done for you and made for you, because that's how the system works. Whether it's the carpenters doing things for you, or the town, the architects designing beautiful homes, obviously with different materials that we have today. So in essence, the moment we start One Small Town, everything changes. Everything changes. The way we live, the way we work, where we live, the houses we live in, the materials we use, the technology we have, the transport we have, the petrol we put into, everything changes. And for the benefit, for the better, instantly. And then what happens is that once you have all this time on your hands, now suddenly you're only working 3 hours a week. That's when you said you would work 9 hours a day or 9 hours a week. That's when people can then follow their passion, their natural talent, their God-given talents with which we are born. Each and every one of us is born with very specific talents and skill, not necessarily skills, but talents that sometimes we develop into skills, and sometimes we follow our talent and develop new skills that we then use. Now you can use those talents, and the beautiful thing about this, because of the structure of the One Small Town, because there's money available for everything. If you start, for example, a sculpting studio, you're a sculptor, you just love to sculpt. So you spend more and more, all your time sculpting. And you can get your clay for free because that's how it works, because you can contribute your 3 hours a week, right?
Yeah.
And sooner or later, you're going to become the master sculptor in the community, and everyone's going to be coming to you to learn how to do sculpting. So the community will adopt you as the master sculptor, and everyone will respect you and honor you for who you are and your talents that you now have the time and the ability to express. This is possible in the world we find ourselves today. So it's just such a simple, beautiful.
One of the most beautiful things that I see in it is bringing people back together again, families back together again. The governments and the money people behind the scenes have divided not just race and religion, divided families. I grew up with my family, 5 children in the family that I grew up in, having breakfast, dinner, and tea together as a family.
Yes.
And I see this as One Small Town as bringing families back together, which is what we need.
Yes. And then communities. Can you imagine the explosion of arts and culture,
Yeah.
music and theater and everything from growing seedlings to theater to everything you can imagine? The arts will just explode because a lot of people are very talented, have a lot of strong artistic skills. I know you're tired, Charlie. You want to go. Just finally. I was going with this. Where was I going with this? And the thing is, so now I'm stuck in this town. So how can I go from this town to another town? Very simple. You just leave. You go to the other town, and you say, I want to join your community. And say, sure. Just contribute your 3 hours a week. There it is. So you don't have to stay in the community you are. You can choose the community that you feel most attracted to. And yes, there'll be some towns that have more artists and poets, and some towns that have more geeks and computer geeks and IT geeks, and some towns, you know what I mean? Because people are attracted to those that have similar likes and similar, loves for certain things. So this is such a simple model. And like I said, there's a solution for every problem we face encoded in this. And we can talk more about it because I'm sure the people ask questions and we can go through those questions in this. And now I'm going to end on the final note. I can see you're really tired.
I'm good.
The thing is about the funding.
Yeah.
So over the years, we've been promised funding over and over again. Now, keep in mind, if people think that I have some sort of a benevolent fund somewhere that pays for all these things, I don't. I am like everybody else. I have to work and find money to do this. So I'm doing this as a labor of love in my time. I run a lodge. I do tours to the ancient sites and the ancient civilizations. I write books. I make money from my books. Every cent that comes in goes into running the Ubuntu movement and promoting the One Small Town strategy, which has been tough on me, you can imagine. So I'd like to encourage people, go onto the Ubuntu Planet website and sign up. Sign up for $5 a month or $10 a month or whatever you can afford. And the more funding I have, monthly, the more I can remove myself from having to work to survive, and I can put more effort and energy into making this work more smoothly and successfully. And finally, the reason why we don't have any funding yet is because the moment you start talking to funders, you can see the greed come out. And the only thing we need funded is the new technology, the energy generators. Yeah. That's it. It's simple. And the moment they see what we have, they become greedy, right? And like I said, we've had many offers from a variety of investors. And what it comes down to is that they always want to own everything. They want to give you like 10% or 15% of it. They want to take control of everything. They want to then run everything. They want to run these things around the world. And so we've turned down probably half a dozen investors of up to $1 billion. This is big money, Charlie.
Yeah.
Anyone else would have been tempted to take this. We're not going to do this. We have not done it so far, and we're not going to compromise. So I want people to know this. So if you're wondering why we haven't launched, why we're not out of the starting blocks, is not because I'm incompetent or my partners are incompetent. Is because the funders that have approached us that want to take this have been greedy, and we're waiting for the right funders. A few of them have popped their heads up. They're making all the right noises right now. We're talking to two billionaires that have got billions of dollars to put into this. It looks very promising, but I've been down this road before. For 10 years now, I've been promised money over and over and over again, and never, ever has it materialized. So it's been an interesting journey. And once again, what is the hurdle to our progress? The money. Yeah, exactly. The money become the hurdle to our progress and the greed factor associated with it. But I believe we're very, very close to sorting that out and launching the first One Small Town very, very soon. And now I'm done.
That was absolutely brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. And I thoroughly enjoyed it. And as I've said before, and I'll say it again, any more questions and we'll do this again and we'll answer the questions, because the whole concept of this I absolutely love. And it just makes so much sense to. And I was just thinking when you were talking there about going on holiday and giving up 3 hours of my holiday a week to help another community. And that would make me feel so good inside.
Yes. That's actually one of the questions. So now I'm going to be stuck there. How can I go on holiday? I mean, what if I want to go on holiday? I say, well, think about it. See, you've already answered the question yourself just by thinking about it. So you pack up and you go to whatever town you want to go. You have a holiday and you just contribute 3 hours a week. You get food and everything for free. Everything is available to you, and you have a holiday. You don't have to do anything as long as you contribute.
And then
people
also,
do so many other things.
Especially with Africa, for people coming into Africa, to spend 3 hours helping somebody in a community would educate you so much into what's going on in their life. It breaks down racism, it breaks down sexism, it breaks down religious beliefs. Suddenly you're just helping another human being for 3 hours of your holiday. And you'll leave back feeling so refreshed.
And what you do is you also, when you work for 3 hours a week, so you're meeting new people all the time. So you're constantly expanding your circle of friends, and the community gets stronger and stronger. This is why the One Small Town communities will be incredibly cohesive and very strong, because everybody will know everybody.
Yeah, exactly. Well, Michael, thank you very, very much for your time today. It's been absolutely brilliant. Thoroughly enjoyed it, and so much content, and given a wonderful insight into One Small Town.
Thank you, Charlie. And I look forward to going through these questions with you, because that's all. I find that one of the most exciting things, just to show people how simple the answers are. Yeah. Anything, it's so simple. As long as you take it from the perspective that if it's not good for everyone, it's not good at all. It's very easy to solve any problem that we throw at this. And I look forward to doing that with you. It's a great journey of discovery.
Definitely. More than willing to come on that journey with you, Michael.
Excellent.
Hi, it's Justin, and I hope you're enjoying my dad's videos. Make sure to share this video with family and friends, like and subscribe, and turn on post notifications so you get notified for all my dad's new videos. My social media will be tagged down below so you can follow it. And just remember, Jesus loves you.